Hello and welcome. My name is Mandy Froelich, and I'm a financial planner with Black Hills Financial Planning. And I want to introduce you to a new service being offered. It's called Comprehensive Financial Planning. And what the offer is essentially is to work with me, a financial planner, to have a very comprehensive and holistic view of your finances. And not only just your finances today, but every facet of how you're planning to live your life, how you're going to achieve your goals, how you're going to retire, how you're going to take advantage of a variety of tax opportunities, tax saving opportunities, and of course, plan for your estate and more. So this video essentially is to provide an overview of what this looks like, what the value is, so that you can have a good understanding of how it might benefit you as well. Now, I'll start by saying that one of the benefits of working with me in this platform is that there's a client portal and that you have a place where we can collaborate on tasks. You can upload files. Everything is highly secure. And at the end of the day, you also have ongoing support included in the quarterly financial plans and access to the software. You also have access to what we call Monte Carlo simulations and the ability just to test out a variety of different tools and simulations related to your experience as well. I reviewed so many different types of financial advisory platforms and just loved RightCapital because it's easy to use, it's intuitive, and it provides so much value. So let's get started. I'm not going to go too in depth today because I don't want to bore you before we get through all of the bells and whistles, but I want to give you an overview of the value. So you can see what I have pulled up here is a client's account for a pre-retiree. And this is one of the samples that I've built out so that you can see what this can do for you. You also have a millennial version, maybe someone who's not quite getting ready for retirement, but for this overview, we're going to use the pre-retiree sample. And your client portal will actually look pretty similar to this. When you log in, you'll come to a dashboard and you'll have a snapshot of where we're at with your proposed plan, your current net worth, what your effective federal tax rate is, and also a balance sheet. And one of the things I love about this is you can incorporate all different accounts, integrations. We can pull in the assets that you own, what you owe on them, and have a very clear picture of where you're at in your financial standing. And then, of course, I'm tracking this with you through the platform, but also with quarterly financial planning sessions as well. You can add notes, keep track of things. And of course, that tax allocation is going to be a very big component as we continue to plan for your financial future, how you're going to transfer assets, how you're going to reduce that tax burden, and more. And if you have any investments in the market, we'll be able to see what that breakdown is. Also, there's some really neat tools with the software where it's going to give some great perspective on risk, how you could change your investments, and just a lot of great tools. That balance sheet, as I mentioned, if we pull everything in through the connections, which I'll walk through at the end, we can see what you have in assets, liabilities, net worth. Just a lot of different options in terms of how to break this down. We can see essentially what almost like a business balance sheet, but for your personal life, what cash you have, invested assets, the tax burden on those, real estate, any liabilities as well, to get that clear picture of the net worth. And of course, historically as well, too, it'll track that. Liquidity gives us a good idea in terms of what you need to weather the ups and downs of life, what our target liquidity is, actual liquidity, what the surplus and deficient might be, so that we can plan more effectively and ensure that we have a plan in place for making sure that you can live the type of life you want to live, that you can retire when you want to retire, build that business, etc. You will get access to budgeting tools. This is a sample, so I don't have this set up here, but it's really neat. We can pull in transactions and categorize them similar as you would do in Monarch or QuickBooks if you have a business. And then we're able to track your budget as well in this app. Tasks, if there are tasks assigned to you or me, we can collaborate on those. And I love that capability. Now, investments. This shows just what investments there are currently. We have a lot of neat tools here in terms of being able to not only see what the portfolio breakdown is, but then use various simulations to get a different understanding of how you could invest differently as well if you want to stay in the market. If you work with me, you know that I'm a big fan of fixed income annuities as well and having that volatility control so you don't have as much risk. But of course, diversification is key. And I love that this tool offers a lot of different opportunities to be able to not only see how you're invested and understand your risk, but how you could change those investments as well too. So I mentioned risk, for instance, if we're talking about a pre-retiree sample and someone who wants stability and they're fully invested in the market, we can see that they have a high amount of risk with their current portfolio, but we actually want their target portfolio to be 35. And there are different tools here, like let's say that their target portfolio is actually balanced. That changes substantially in terms of where we're at. If we're wanting to be incredibly aggressive, we're actually not meeting our target portfolio. But this is an example of how we can get a better look of where those investments are, the risk that comes along with them, and we can just dig into that through our planning and help you better understand what sectors you're invested in, if you want to change those. Again, so many different tools. I love this platform so much. And of course, diversification. We can also get some automated responses here too, in terms of if you wanted to diversify differently or if you wanted to improve the likelihood of certain indexes performing better. We have all those tools as well too. It does not replace the securities advice as well either. It's just an additional tool as part of your financial planning. And of course, if we have holdings, we're able to see a breakdown and just a different view here as well too. Okay, over to retirement. This is a big one for a lot of folks, making sure that you can retire when you want, how you want. So with our planning right now, we can see essentially the probability of success if we have all of the different accounts integrated and we also are on track with the risk my risk amount essentially that we're wanting to hit. The guarantees essentially are what we want to build into your planning. And so we have a few different ways to look at these simulations, a few different ways that we can actually adjust this as well too. So let's say that we want to change your proposed plan, the retirement age, maybe the monthly amount you retire with, the taxable amount, and just how you're contributing. There are a bunch of different ways that we can play around and get guarantees to understand what the best plan is for you and your spouse, perhaps, and how you're going to get there. And we can do comparisons between different plans as well, too, understanding as well like the potential of the market and what might happen, and just giving you a very realistic glance of what your investments might do for you. And if we need to, again, change some of these different variables so that you have a better understanding of how you're going to plan. It's a collaborative interface, which is why I love it so much, because I can put the best plans in front of you, but at the end of the day, you have to decide what you're going to do. And you also need to be educated about it. So rather than just take my word for it, we can build out these plans, for instance, build out fixed income annuity alternatives, compare the different plans as well. And it gives you just a lot of flexibility there. We can stress test your retirement savings as well. So let's say the equity market drops by 60%. Where are we at? What does that look like? How does that affect your retirement? So security is reduced by 40%. We want to stress test your financial plan so that we can be more effective at ensuring that your retirement is actually going to be what you expect. We can also optimize Social Security, which is another really great tool. And we can pull in direct information from your Social Security plan, understand exactly what you'll have, or what that's going to look like, what spouse benefit will be, and incorporate all of that into your planning. Same with Medicare considerations. We can plan for that as well, too, in terms of Medicare coverage, enrollment, and tips. And we can better understand cash flow as you get older. What's the breakdown? What's going to be going to taxes? What do we need in savings? What are we going to have unsaved? And what generally is going to be going towards expenses with inflation built in as well, too. A bit of a different view here with our table. And then, of course, tracking that net worth over time as well. So it's very comprehensive, as I mentioned, almost too much at a glance, which is why I'm not going to go too deep into it. All right, insurance. So insurance is a tool that is very beneficial as part of your financial plan. We want to look at a few different types: life insurance specifically, disability, long-term care, and property and casualty. Because if you don't have adequate insurance, you're essentially leaving yourself open to risk. And part of financial planning and its purpose is to identify and close the gaps on risk, which is what the software is helping us do. It's helping us think of all of the different scenarios, understand the current coverage, what you might not have, what you might need, and understand that as you get older, you're going to need especially long-term care, but disability and life insurance is a great way to plan for that legacy. Right, so really great in terms of, again, providing our overall 10,000-foot view, and then we can drill into understanding if you're overinsured, if you're underinsured, and what you would need to do. And the best part is you can work with me and my team for most of those insurance needs. Some of those I'll outsource to other local brokers, but for the most part, everything can be taken care of in-house. Now, if you have any education goals, we'll add those under the goals in your profile, and we can work towards those goals and specifically education costs. Let's say that you have a young one or a couple littles that you want to plan for their college. We can plan for all of that. We can look at a bunch of different scenarios and how you're going to meet that and ensure that there's 100% goal coverage. All right. And then, of course, we have our cash flow table here as well, too. If it's not applicable, we'll omit it from your plan. And then, of course, taxes is a really important one when we look at tax estimates, tax strategies, and we can also use a really nice tool built into the software for tax analyzing. So we can see what you've been essentially doing in the past, upload your returns, understand the details, and do more effective planning based on historical tax filings, and also see where we can just be a bit more proactive with your projected returns for the following years as well, too. All of this goes hand in hand. If you're not planning, you are just leaving yourself exposed to risk in so many different areas. So we want to not only understand what's coming, but strategize so that we can understand how to most effectively plan for your financial future. How can we put you in a variety of different scenarios where your money works for you and you have a lower cost basis essentially, and you're paying less taxes. Not that we don't want you to pay taxes, but I want you to save more of your money and understand essentially what's happening, how to adjust and be flexible, knowing that everything is variable and there's going to be some volatility with the market. But if we can put you in some great situations and have all of this information at your fingertips, then my team and I are doing our jobs. So again, a lot of different tools here that we can dig into. This is the other part of the benefit is you're not just getting software, you're getting a lot of tools that you can work with me and or another financial planner with. All right, so I'll skip over here to estate. A lot of this is handled when you work with us to develop an estate plan. So the will, the power of attorneys, living will, healthcare proxy, beneficiary designations, living trust. We really like to cover this with everyone, and our checklist here will just keep track of it and make sure that we have that in check. With beneficiaries, generally your trust will be your primary beneficiary, but if you don't have a trust and you want to track that separately, we can definitely break that out separately. Just understand you will go through probate. And so this can be really helpful in a estate flow chart, understanding the estate value, how things will be inherited, how you want to break things down, how insurance essentially is going to break out as well, and just gives you peace of mind and understanding what is your legacy, how is the money actually being dispersed, and we can get into some really robust planning there as well too. We can do some different plans as well. We can do some different proposed plans to help you understand if you have any ideas, like I actually want to leave more to charity versus perhaps leave it all to family, what that looks like, taxes and fees, all of that is built into the software as well. Lastly, if you decide to work together, profiles where we set up most everything, I will walk you through this. Generally, I set up 2 different meetings to help set up your account, but once you're set up, we are just humming along and it's a matter of maintenance. So connect all of your accounts, banks, credit cards, investments, stock plans, loans, property, insurance, business information we'll put in there as well too. Anything else? And then of course, identifying goals so that we can work towards those. We want to also review what your income is so we can do effective cash flow planning. We'll get pretty accurate with our Social Security, making sure that we have that dialed in. And then savings as well. What are we doing for savings? How long will we be saving? To what age, et cetera? And that's essentially how we can build the backbone for all of these different projections is understanding what are we actually doing on an ongoing basis? When does it start? How long will it be? And then we have the fundamentals to move forward. And of course, we'll have the family built out as well too, so that we are able to plan for your entire family. And at the end of the day, we have a very nice blueprint that will all come together once all this is filled out, helps us understand how we're going to be meeting our goals. And at the end of the day, nothing is left untouched. So I believe that when it comes to value and working with a financial planner, what we're offering here is top tier. And hopefully this high-level overview has given you some insight in terms of the value it can also provide to you and your family. So please get in touch if you'd like to learn more, if you would like a personal tour of the software and or I'm willing to set up a trial for specific folks as well too, and you can just get more acquainted with the software. But this is the overview of the comprehensive financial planning. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day.